Hello, Melissa. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we'll be ready in about 2 minutes. We're just having some technical issues.
Sure.
Started in 30 seconds.
Sure.
Welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. From August 1st to August 7th, healthcare professionals will be honoring Worldwide Breastfeeding Week. Joining me to discuss the importance of breastfeeding is Associate Clinical Director of Maternal Child Health at the Montefiore Wakefield Campus, Melissa A. Pais. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me.
Good morning.
So can you tell me a little bit about Worldwide Breastfeeding Week?
Sure. Worldwide Breastfeeding Week gives us an opportunity to explain the importance of breastfeeding and why it's so beneficial to infants around the world.
So this is actually my first time ever hearing about this week, so I'm curious to know more. But first, I want to know, why is Montefiore honoring it?
We're honoring World Breastfeeding Week because we understand the importance of breastfeeding to the community and for every infant around the world.
Now, how can breastfeeding be beneficial to a baby?
Sure. Breastfeeding provides passive immunity from mother to child, so it helps babies to fight infections and disease. And for mothers, it could actually reduce the risk of uterine cancer and breast cancer.
Okay, that's super interesting. I actually never really heard of that. I know a lot of people often recommend mothers to do breastfeeding. Would you say that's the reason why, like, a lot of doctors would recommend mothers to choose breastfeeding over formula?
They would also recommend it because it helps mother and infant to bond. It also, like I said, prevents infections and disease. Actually, breastfeeding can reduce the risk of ear infections in children.
Oh, and do you happen to know why that is?
Sure. It helps with the swallowing and the way the baby's positioned rather than with bottle feeding. The position helps from the milk going right down to the throat and preventing ear infections.
Wow, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Now, our country recently experienced a baby formula shortage. Can you just tell us about that a little bit before we go deeper into that? Just talk about the formula shortage.
Sure. The formula shortage caused lots of fears throughout the country. As you know, in many supermarkets, there weren't formula on the shelves. This further pressed the issue of breastfeeding and why it's so important. And it made my team and I focus more on helping that mother breastfeed from the time of birth.
Now, I'm curious to know, what about moms who may not be able to choose breastfeeding? Is there an alternative for that?
Of course, there are alternatives. There are milk donation programs, which a Montefiore is a part of. Um, Women who have the ability to breastfeed, they can donate their breast milk and it is donated.
Oh, wow. Can you actually tell me a little bit more about milk donations? I've never heard of that before, but I think it's a wonderful opportunity for moms who can't, or maybe people who have adopted babies who can't breastfeed. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Lots of patients who have a difficulty in breastfeeding have chosen this option. The safest way is going through a hospital or an organization that works with companies that do a process where they do thorough background checks on the patients and they ensure that the milk is safe for use.
Wow. Now, has breastfeeding ever been met with any opposition in the past, or is there a negative stigma attached to breastfeeding?
Sure. I think that it's met with opposition because some people find it to be a lot of work. You have to know how to properly latch the infant. Patients often have fears with how long should they be feeding, or the feeds long enough. Patients that come from foreign countries also see the Western world as a modern world, and they think formula is the best option. But we all know that breast milk, if a patient is able to breastfeed, is best option.
Now, here in the Bronx, we tend to have the lowest breastfeeding rate in NYC. Why aren't mothers in the Bronx breastfeeding?
I think this could be multifactorial. It could be due to the fact that some patients lack health insurance, lack proper prenatal care. There could also be the inability to be able to meet with a lactation consultant so that they have that support early on.
And can you tell me a little bit, because you talked about prenatal care and just care in general, I think a lot of people assume once you have the baby, that's it, you're on your own. But I'm sure there's a lot that goes into helping the mom after they have that baby. And I'm sure breastfeeding is probably one of the things that a lot of healthcare professionals go over. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. At Montefiore Wakefield, we are a baby friendly facility. We think it's important to begin breastfeeding soon after the time of birth. So we'll do skin to skin time and place the baby right onto mom's chest, allowing mom to be able to breastfeed. Our nurses, our lactation consultants, and physicians provide support that our patients may need, not only while they're in the hospital, but outside of the hospital as well. We offer a breastfeeding clinic on Tuesday afternoons at the Wakefield campus. And we have a hotline that you could reach out to the unit. If you should have any questions, you can always call the unit at any time of the night, and any one of our staff will support you.
Now, I want to go back to talking about the Bronx a little bit. I know here in the Bronx, we have so many different just cultural backgrounds and ethnicities. And I'm wondering, could that contribute or be a contributing factor to the lack of breastfeeding that we're seeing here?
Absolutely. Like I said, the Western world is seen as a more modern world, and people who come from foreign countries may often think formula is the option. The other thing could be that some cultures are a little more modest and they're frightened to maybe breastfeed in public.
I'm really glad that you brought that up because I know even since like maybe I was in college, I just know that it's been unfortunately like a political thing about breastfeeding in public or, just women breastfeeding in general. Can you just talk a little bit to more how it's more just safe for the baby and it's not I don't think it should be something that's looked at as controversial. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think that breastfeeding shouldn't be seen as something that's out of the norm. It should be our norm. We should be able to breastfeed in public if necessary with a cover so that we don't feel uncomfortable around other people. Public buildings now offer facilities where people can enter and breastfeed with a little more modesty if that's of concern to them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, the Bronx continues to rank last in health outcomes. We're normally 62 out of all the 62 counties that we have here. Does the lack of breastfeeding contribute to maybe some of the poor health outcomes that we're seeing in the Bronx?
I can't say that the two exactly coincide with one another, but giving our child breast milk gives them a good start from the beginning.
Now, Montefiore previously had an event yesterday, but can you tell us about the upcoming event on August 5th?
Sure. On August 5th, we're going to have a popcorn table at the center circle of the hospital where we're going to provide information about breastfeeding, in particular, some information on women who choose to breastfeed and are returning back to the workforce. We're going to provide information on the benefits of breastfeeding, and we could answer any questions that anyone may have in regards to breastfeeding.
Now, I want to know, what are some steps new moms can take to have a successful breastfeeding session?
I think it's important to set yourself up in an environment that's comfortable, that's quiet, that's of peace, where you can sit down and focus on the time with your baby.
And are there any breastfeeding myths out there that you would like to dispel right now?
Sure. I think that people tend to think that it's a lot of work and that it's difficult, but I try to sell it as this is something that is easy. You carry it with you. You don't need to warm it up, and you can breastfeed at any time without any restrictions.
And what's something that the mom should do to stay healthy so that the baby does have, just healthy breast milk to consume?
Proper nutrition is very important, especially if you're going to breastfeed. In order to be able to breastfeed and have a good supply, you have to have a nutritious meal, plenty of vegetables, fruits, and stay very well hydrated. That's one of the most important things.
So you talked about, baby-friendly hospitals. Can you just let us know, how can mothers find out if a hospital is baby-friendly?
Sure, you can always go onto your hospital's website if they should have a website, which Montefiore does. In addition to that, there is a Baby Friendly USA website, and it will give you a listing of baby-friendly hospitals.
Amazing. And can you just let everybody know how they can stay up to date with Montefiore?
Sure, you can log on to our Montefiore website, www.montefiore.org, and you can find the latest information on Baby Friendly and all the wonderful things we offer in regards to breastfeeding support.
All right, and I do have one more question before I let you go. Can you just let everybody know just the importance of breastfeeding overall? If anybody's still having any doubts, what's some advice that you would give to a new mom who's still on the fence about it?
I say to any mom, all you need is the desire to want to try. Give it a shot. It's easy. I was able to do it successfully with not one, but two children and working full time. If I can do it, anyone can.
And then I love that you brought up the fact that about work, because a lot of moms are going back to work, right? We're not working from home as we used to. Can you talk a little bit just about the challenges of maybe that transition and what they can do to help with that?
Absolutely. That transition can be difficult from being at home with your baby to then entering the workforce. It's important to take time to make sure you're well hydrated, that you're eating well, and that you're taking the time to take care of yourself as a mother. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to provide the care and breastfeed that baby as successfully as you should hope. Take the time in between your work. Make sure you know your breastfeeding policies at your job. Make sure that your job gives you the opportunity to stop and have a place to be able to pump and to stay well hydrated.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with more Open BxRx Tuesday.
Yes. Hi. Hello. Thank you for having me. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. No, I can't see any. Tabrizia Jones, young adults senior librarian. Yes. Okay. Uh, nope. I think I am all good and set. Hello, I can hear you. No, I'm all good and set. And set. Yeah, sorry. Okay, sure.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, so can you pronounce your name for me?
Brisha.
Tabrisha. Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so we're getting some stuff set up at the moment, so we'll be with you in just a minute, okay?
Okay, sure.
All right.
No problem.
I also want to ask, by any chance, did you used to work at Sedgwick? Cedric? Oh,
Yes.
okay. So I actually remember you. My aunt used to work there. Her name was Miss Alleyne. They used to call her Miss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Hi.
I saw your face. I'm like, oh, I think this might because they always just go by last name there. So I wasn't sure. I was like, let me ask. So yeah, it's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. Yeah, our office is a little bit of a mess, but it's okay.
Okay. No, you're good. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Are you all good right now?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Okay, great. Welcome back. With a mission to provide a safe space for teens looking to unapologetically celebrate themselves, the NYPL hosts an anti-prom in the Bronx. Here to tell us more about this celebration is Tabrizia Jones, young adult senior librarian for the Pelham Parkway Van-Nest Library. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about the anti-prom?
Yes, so the anti-prom is an event that was created by the New York Public Library as to create a safe space for teens to be able to come into, if they didn't feel comfortable going into their own high school prom, whether if it was their sexual identity or gender identity, or they just weren't, they didn't feel like it was a place for them. We created this event for teens to be able to come and spend like an after hours at the library in a safe and comfortable environment where they have a chance to be themselves.
Now, why do you think it's so important to have a safe space for these teenagers to just explore the identity?
Well, I think as we've all known, like adults, being a teenager is like a tumultuous time. They deal with like a different hormones and experiences, and sometimes they need a place to express themselves. And I think even after coming out of the pandemic, it's becoming more difficult. So we want to make sure that the anti-prom and any place of part of the New York Public Library, the teens feel welcome and they're open and they just feel like that they have a chance to, with different learning possibilities and meeting new people and meeting new experiences, so they can like treasure those memories when as they get older.
Now, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Can you just tell us how you got involved with the NYPL anti-prom?
Sure. So, including me and my co-chair, Whitney Davidson Rhodes, we decided, and along with other Bronx YA librarians, we decided that even though with the success of the, at the time, the only anti-prom, the one that happened at the Schwartzman building at Bryant Park, not a lot of teens in the Bronx, if they live in the Bronx, they're able to go to the one in Manhattan because of various issues. One of the main issues is that because traveling there, it takes a lot of time. They may not be able to go. So we decided to bring one in the Bronx. And it was just so important to show that the things happen in the Bronx. Wonderful things can happen in the Bronx, especially part of the New York Public Library, and we wanted to highlight that. So we decided to join together and start this committee so we can make sure that Bronx teens, even all, not just Bronx teens, any New York City teens come to this event, make sure that this is one of the great things that they can expect of our home borough.
So I love that you mentioned that, it was nice to have something in the Bronx because I often feel like we have to go out to do certain things. So it's amazing that it's here in the Bronx. Can you explain why it's also so important just for teenagers in the Bronx? Because I do feel like sometimes the Bronx can get ignored. So why is it so important that, Bronx teens have something like this to kind of, go to and explore themselves a little bit?
Well, it's just like, it's so important is because it's just to show that the Bronx teens matter. Like, it's like you said, like we have to go outside of the Bronx to go for things. I know when I was a teenager, and even sometimes it's the same now in my adult years. We have to go outside the Bronx, and that's not always the case. The Bronx is my borough. I've born and raised, and I continue living in the Bronx. It is something that I always treasure in my heart, and it's a place that always gets a bad rap, and we just want to make sure that that's not always the case. The Bronx has wonderful and beautiful things, and one of the things that comes out of the Bronx is the teens because it's just like so much creativity and admiration and from there, and we want to celebrate that with this anti-prom.
And I think that's amazing. I think that, the Bronx just in itself is so colorful, but of course, Bronx youth kind of make it what it is and kind of give us that edge and make us cool. So I love that they have something here. Now, I know that anti-prom took a 2-year hiatus in response to the pandemic. Can you explain, what the NYPL did instead to still give teenagers a place to express themselves?
Yes. So, during the 2-year pandemic, unfortunately, we had to bring everything virtual. So, but that didn't stop librarians from all across the New York Public Library system to make sure to let teens know that there are various things that they can do at the library, even if it's virtually. So we had like the Teen Reading Ambassadors program. That was an initiative that started during the pandemic, where you had teens who applied to be ambassadors to create the first ever children's magazine portal online. Um, we also had like tutoring programs, and we had a slew of different virtual programs that were given, varying from art programs, STEM programs, book clubs. It just like author talks. It was just like amazing things to make sure that teens and children and everyone was kept active and make sure to know that the library, even it could not be there physically for you, or there virtually for you. So we wanted to make sure to highlight those important resources.
So as I mentioned, the anti-prom is coming back after 2 years. What are you looking forward to the most?
Seeing the teens being happy and just interacting and coming back and just like seeing them dancing and being a part of a community again, and also coming back to the libraries just to show that we're back, and even though and we're just rising from like all the stuff that we have come from, and just to highlight that this is like a great celebration to show that we made it through this unfortunate tumultuous time for our lives.
Now, this year the theme is Bronx Rising. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind that and why it's so important?
Yes, so Bronx Rising, it shows that even though during this 2-year pandemic, the Bronx still rises from the ashes. Phoenix rises from the ashes, and we got this similar theme from actually a book that we recently had an author interview with, Burn Down, Rise Up by Vincent Torrado, who is a Bronx native author. So we came up with the theme Bronx Rising to show that we're back, even though that after these 2 tumultuous years um, of sickness and tragedy, we're still coming back, and we're showing that we have rise from the ashes, and we have come back better than ever. And there's just so much more that the Bronx has to offer.
Now, the NYPL has been hosting the anti-prom for quite some time. What has the response been like from the community, but most importantly, from the teens themselves?
They absolutely love it. It's just like for the teens, they have this place where they can. It's just so comfortable for them, and they can just be themselves. And I, when I highlight this program to some adults, they're like, "Wow, this is amazing! I wish I had this when I was a teenager." And I feel that personally, because it's um it's just an event to have, like a free event for teens to just go to be in a dance party, just to hang out with their friends, or even like to sit in a corner and read, because we give them that possibility for them to do at these kind of things. Like they can just do a various of different activities. It doesn't have to be just like sticking to that like strict like dance party kind of thing. But that is ultimately, it's like a dance party. But the response for it has been always so great and so wonderful. People really highlight it as just like a very great event for teens to attend.
And I think it's so amazing that it's so important to note that it's also a safe place, right? Because I think as teenagers, sometimes you could kind of go down a wrong path or explore yourself in ways that probably aren't the best to you in the future. So the fact that they have somewhere that's safe, that they can do this, I think is amazing. Now, the NYPL anti-prom has been around for a long time, a little over 10 years. How do you think society has changed in regards to that?
So with the book bannings and recent societal issues, it has changed. I wish I could say for the better, but I think it also highlights why this is needed now more than ever, because we just assume we assume that everyone is accepting of like how the differences in people, and that's not always the case. So I feel like this is more important than ever to highlight that this is a if you don't feel that you're comfortable, either it's in your home or in your school or in society, this is the one event where you can truly be yourself and no one will judge you. And I feel like that is something everyone needs to hear at the moment, especially teens, because they are dealing with various emotions while they're growing up in their teenage years. And having this event really highlights the importance and the emphasis of just truly being yourself.
Now, how can teens register for this and how can they stay up to date with the NYPL?
So you can go and visit our website, nypl.org/anti-prom, where you will find the registration link for the event. And you can also follow us on Facebook and social media at NYPL, where you can get recent updates and also highlighting of everything about this event.
All right, and I also want to just add that you mentioned that, books are still going to be a part of this. So although it is a party, you can still read. Can you quickly just tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we leading up to the big party event, we had a series of author talks, and we purchased some free books for teens to be able to pick up with a bookmark so they can be able to read it and also at the dance or even take it home. Then also during our Summer at the Library program, Make Waves, the library is giving out 500,000 books to kids and teens this summer. And we're also having some of those books at the dance to give away for teens for free.
All right, that's amazing. Tabrizia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
We'll be right back with more Open BxRx Tuesday.
you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well here. Wait 1 second. I think it's choosing another camera for some reason. Yeah, for sure. There we go. There we go. There we go. Hello. I'm doing well. How are you? Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Okay. Um, should I start? Okay. One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Awesome. Okay, perfect. I cannot. Okay. Yeah, I'm on a laptop. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Mhm, mhm, mhm. Um, I guess like for I sent out images and I was wondering if those will be displayed or if it's okay if I just, because I have them to my side, so I don't need them displayed, like if necessary. It's on like a PowerPoint because I wasn't sure how this was going to be set up, but it's totally cool if like that doesn't need to be presented at this time. I'm just gonna use them to the side to like help me. But yeah. Okay, great. Sounds good. Yes. .nyc, yes. 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 Sounds great. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, can you pronounce your name for me?
Johanna Monge.
Monge?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the prompter is like, when I press it down, it's going up. Okay, good. Thank you. Mm-hmm. This is the last. Okay, we'll be getting started in 30 seconds. Welcome back. Could knowing a little more about your landlord influence your housing decisions? Organization JustFix launched a new and improved tool titled Who Owns What to help NYC tenants learn more about their landlords. Joining me to discuss WOW is Program Manager for JustFix, Johanna Monge. Johanna, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you first tell us about your organization, JustFix?
Yeah, for sure. So JustFix is a New York City-based organization that works to co-create tools with tenants, organizers, and legal advocates to fight displacement and achieve stable housing for all. And we do this by leveraging the power of data and technology to support individual and collective action for housing justice.
Now, your organization recently announced the release of a new and improved version of Who Owns What, also known as WOW. Before jumping into the new version, can you just tell us more about WOW in general?
Yeah, for sure. So WOW stands for Who Owns What, which is a product that we launched. It's actually one of our first products that we launched in 2018. And it is a tool that unveils property ownership patterns using public housing data. And so this provides you with a snapshot of the current conditions as well as the recent history around a given building. And it's also its associated portfolio, which includes all the buildings that may be owned by the same property management company or landlord.
So, what are some new features that viewers can look forward to with this new version?
Yeah. So there are two new features that we've been working on a lot, especially in collaboration with our partners, such as tenant advocates. And one of the main features is our search for landlord feature. And this allows for users to be able to look up their landlord and not only find their building, but also all other buildings associated. And then in addition to that, when folks are able to click on the summary tab, on the website, they are then able to see a whole web of all the associated business addresses as well as any other stakeholder that is associated to their building that they may live in or may be searching for.
So, I think this is really, really cool, and there's so much information like tied to it. Was this challenging to kind of gather all this stuff together?
So yeah, of course, we use a lot of user research to get to the actual features that we think are priority to unveil. But also the most important thing about our products is that we utilize public data, particularly New York City open data. And this allows us to be able to easily access data that unfortunately is not as well presented when you just look it up to like the regular person. But our data folks as well as engineers are able to work together to use this open data feature that is available to the public, but are able to organize it and allow for folks to be able to easily access all this information that is useful for them when they are researching their building or any building that may be in their neighborhood that they see are under not great conditions.
That's amazing. Now, I really want to know, why did your organization, even just come up with this idea to create a platform to assist NYC tenants?
Yeah. So, for example, personally, I'm a tenant organizer by training. Before joining JustFix, I worked in Inwood and Washington Heights to organize buildings owned by a landlord that purchased like 11 buildings in the neighborhood post a rezoning. And we work with a lot of tenant organizers and advocates and tenants themselves that are dealing with similar issues in their neighborhoods. And so a key element of organizing is research. And unfortunately, in other cities and states, and even in New York City prior to our products being launched, this was a process that took a lot of time. And that takes away from being able to connect with your neighbors and actually assist people one-on-one. And so our products allow for people to be able to easily get a snapshot of conditions, of the history of their building, of associated addresses to the portfolio of the building that they live in. And so that doesn't take up a lot of time anymore. You can easily show it to the tenants that you're working with. You can show it to in presentations, and also use it as leverage when you are dealing with a situation with your landlord, and be like, hey, I know this is not just an anomaly in my building, but also a trend and a pattern across the buildings that you own. And this gives the power to the tenants to be able to use research as a means to be able to gain justice in the situations that they may be dealing with.
I think that's really cool, and I never thought of it that way before. But I know for a lot of tenants, unless they're in this situation themselves, they may find it hard to use a product like this. So can you just explain why anyone who lives in New York City may want to use this this platform and know a little bit more about their landlord?
For sure. I think it's always important as a New Yorker to be able to understand the conditions of not just your living situation, but also your neighbors, in order to not feel so alone in this big city. And also, a lot of folks have to embark on a housing search, unfortunately. And this is due to folks moving into the city, folks dealing with displacement, whether it's legal or illegal, and trying to find a place that is habitable, that has great conditions for them to be able to live a healthy and stable life in. And so being able to research your building prior to moving into your building or deciding where you want to live in, you are able to see exactly what you may be facing once you move in, and choose whether, okay, this is a situation that I do feel like I can go into, or know exactly what you may be facing, in order to then embark on either organizing your building with your neighbors or deciding to choose to live in that apartment building or not. So this is both for folks that live in buildings long term and don't want to feel so alone, but also for folks that are just moving into the city or are New Yorkers that have to deal with the housing search, which is unfortunate for a lot of folks that we have to face, right? Because long-term housing is not as easy to find anymore. And so you should still be able to find a place where you are understanding the conditions in your apartment prior to moving. And even if that is the only option that you have, be able to understand that these are the issues that I may have to face when I move in.
Now, I think historically, especially in New York City, there's always been this shift between tenants and landlords. Do you think, WOW can kind of eliminate that shift, or just eliminate the disconnection that there's always been in our city for such a long time?
Of course, I think that the biggest thing in regards to who owns what is that it unveils this like huge web of landlord ownership in New York City. A lot of times, like when I was younger, I grew up in a building where like I knew my landlord, but that's not the case anymore in New York City. More and more corporations own buildings. And this does not allow for a tenant to have the same type of relationship that they previously maybe had with their landlord. And so they want to be able to understand, okay, I'm not just a tenant living in this building that is owned by this corporation that may own another building in my neighborhood, but I'm now living in a situation that is owned by a corporation that owns tens, if not hundreds, of buildings across the city and potentially nation or even internationally. And so you know exactly who your target is and how you may potentially choose the tactic to like deal with your housing situation, whether it is a repair. It may be different depending on the type of landlord that you have. And so having this information at your fingertips allows you to be able to get a better picture of exactly who your target is, right? And so that then you don't firstly feel so alone, but then you also are able to build a community based off of the buildings that may also be dealing with the same situation due to the person or corporation that owns the building that you live in.
So I also think that it's really cool, that who owns what kind of translates to wow, because that was actually my initial reaction when I used this service myself. And I saw that so many landlords did own so many buildings in New York City. I thought that was very surprising because, as I mentioned, a lot of people, if they're not working in that field, they don't tend to kind of look into that. Can you just explain why that's a negative thing that so many landlords, or is it a negative thing that so many landlords are owning so many buildings in our city?
Yeah. So we actually just released a report on the corporatization of real estate as a study on the past 20 years of sales of property across New York City. And what this showed is that more and more buildings are being bought up by corporations. And what this then leads to on the ground is that the tenants no longer have the same type of relationship with the landlord as they did before, because the corporation no longer has the same type um, uh, of like amenities, or are able. A tenant is now led to a situation where they have to call a 1-800 number and deal with secretaries, or potentially not even have any answers. And more, what we see is that tenants that live in buildings owned by corporations, there's a trend of buildings that are owned by corporations that actually have more egregious repair situations. And this is due to the fact that corporations constantly buy buildings, not actually to maintain healthy housing for people, but just for the means of collecting real estate, right? And as a means of, like, the rich getting richer and unfortunately the poor getting poorer. And their idea is to use potentially faulty regulations in housing, which fortunately in 2019 we were able to pass statewide tenant protections that allowed for there to be more regulations in housing. But prior to that, real estate was using especially regulated housing as a means of, like, just having a constant turnover of tenants in order to increase rent exasperately. The purpose of corporations of owning housing is not to house people, but for profits. And that leads to a very different dynamic between a tenant and their landlord than when a tenant is actually living in a situation where the housing is meant to maintain how a person housed versus just as a means of collecting rent.
So I think this is a really amazing tool. And as I mentioned, I use it a little bit myself and I was so intrigued. Can you just let people know how they can learn more about this and how can they learn more about your organization?
Yeah, for sure. So we are, you can visit us at JustFix.nyc, and our website works in that you're able to input your address, and then we are able to show you a list of our products that we think may be of use to you according to your housing type. Since not everyone lives in rent-regulated housing, folks may live in unregulated housing or in a private home. And so we provide a list of products that then folks are able to use, which may include Who Owns What, of course, which is usually your first go-to product to research your living situation. And you're also able to connect with us via social media. We're quite active on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find us at JustFix.nyc. JustFixNYC. And you can also email us at hello@justfix.nyc if you do have any questions pertaining to your living situation, or you have any questions about our products, or would like to partner with us if you are a tenant organization or tenant advocate or tenant that is dealing with this situation where you would like to be able to use our products to organize or deal with your housing situation.
All right, Joanna, thank you so much for joining me.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
We'll be right back with more Open BxRx.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at bronxnet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Hello. Yes, I'm trying to see if I can get the camera on. Ah, there it is. This is. Hello. Hello? I don't know how to get it off. Let me see. It just came on because this is my first time using Skype since like. Let me see. Yeah. Let me see if I can work something out with this lamp. I hope. Does this give me a little bit more light? Okay, and then let's work on this virtual background real quick. Oh, something else happened. All right. This is new. I think my screen is sharing. Is it sharing? I see two of me. I don't know. Yes. Or change background. I can change it to an MMCC background, or do you want no background? Okay. It's. Let me see if I can adjust my depth. It's light. No, it's fine. This is better. All right. I'm on a desktop. Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nope. That's fine. Mm. Yes, so Advance and Earn is a program that is funded by DYCD and hosted by MMCC. So I'm employed by MMCC and a part of the Advance and Earn contract that we have. It should be Advance and Earn. Yeah, that's fine. For Advance and MMCC's Advance and Earn. Yeah. Yes. Yes. The amount that's paid? I'm sorry, can we say that it's a paid program opportunity? Okay, perfect. Yeah. Yes. No, that's it. Okay, I'm just gonna turn it off because my mom has an emergency bypass. So, and let me just make sure that my admin assistant knows. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna be in a meeting. Can you just make sure that nobody comes upstairs on the floor? On 5, sorry. All right, thank you. Will I be able to see the edited version before it is aired? Okay. 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 All right, awesome.
All right, hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Kibin, host of the show, so I'm so excited to be speaking with you about this.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited myself.
Can you pronounce your name for me?
So my name is Jahvar.
Jahvar. And then
Yes.
how do you pronounce your last name?
My last name is Duffus.
Duffus. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Can you tilt your camera down just a little bit more? Okay.
Actually, let me move some of the stuff in my back.
Okay.
Or at least turn it over. Okay.
Mhm. Okay, so we're just setting up some stuff behind the scenes and we'll get started in about 1 minute.
Okay. Perfect. Can't see anyone else. It's kind of interesting.
Can you not see me?
Oh, I can see you now. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're gonna put a black screen up and then we're gonna get started in 30 seconds.
Okay. I'm sorry. I missed some of that. Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Welcome back. The Mosholu Montefiore Community Center hosts a new program aimed to help young adults with long-term careers and educational goals. Recruitment supervisor for Advance and Earn, Jahvar Duffus, joined me to discuss the program. Jahvar, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you first tell us a little bit about your organization?
So Mosholu Montefiore Community Center has been around since about 1942, and our focus is kind of alleviating some of the stress that our community is facing. Over that time period, we've focused on securing a lot of government contracts and also kind of raising money to assist the community. Our recent program is Advance and Earn, and our focus there is kind of working with youth ages 16 to 24 to help them complete their high school diploma and do their CDL and so on.
And can you explain how long the program is?
So our program is 6 months long, which is about 20 weeks for our youth.
Now, why was it important to have a program dedicated to young adults?
I think our youth in New York City are experiencing a lot of stress around completion of high school, or even if they do complete high school, it is what do they do after high school? Not every student wants to go to college. Some students want to obtain a credential, like such as CDL. And I think it's very important for us to kind of meet our students where they are at, especially because they're in such a fragile space in terms of that age group of transitioning to adulthood. And we want to make sure that we're giving them the tools to kind of adjust to that transition well.
So this is a new program. Can you explain how the program began?
So the program began in 2020 was our first cohort year. And I think our focus was actually taking a look at, what was the graduation rates across the city, because our program is specific for NYC youth. What was the graduation rate? And then also, what is the financial success rate of youth in this age group? And we kind of developed, the city, DYCD, which is a program, Department of Youth, Community and Development, kind of focused on kind of expanding on what we noticed that this demographic needs and putting our money towards that. So that was our focus, was specifically for. That was.
Now, I'm curious to know, you said that it was kind of launched or thought of around 2020. Was this at all in any response to COVID? Because I know for a lot of people, COVID did kind of shake up education just in general. So would you say it was possibly a response to that?
So no, it actually was not a response to COVID. This was something that we saw going on for a long time prior to COVID. In fact, COVID impacted us as well. We had to adjust to becoming hybrid, just like other school systems and other credentialing programs, to kind of make sure that we kept everyone safe and that we're able to credential our youth for a life after the pandemic. So no.
Okay. Well, can you tell us about, the training that this program provides?
Yes, absolutely. So we're two parts. So we're part academics and we're also part workforce development. So everyone gets workforce development, and academics is specific to our HSE students. We have a pre-HSE program and an HSE program. And what that basically means is that some of our students have to take a placement test, and the placement test will help us determine how much assistance in academics do they need. And then we place them in pre-HSE or HSE based on that. And then the workforce component is for all three tracks. So we help them develop cover letters, resumes. We help teach them competency skills that'll help them develop and grow within a work environment. Because for many of our youth, this is actually their first employment opportunity.
So I love that you mentioned that for a lot of people, this is their first employment opportunity, because I think a lot of NYC programs, they're usually introducing people to the workforce or higher education. Can you explain why that's so important, especially for the Bronx, for people in the Bronx?
Well, I grew up in the Bronx, so I can definitely speak on why it's important for youth in the Bronx. There wasn't much opportunities for me growing up, so to see something like this, it's very impactful. I also got my GED, and I went off to college. I got my bachelor's, and I'm actually working on my master's now. But from my experience on both sides as a youth growing up in the Bronx and as someone who administers services to youth in the Bronx, what I've noticed is that our youth don't really have many avenues that are assisting them to kind of hone in on that transition to adulthood. And if they don't get that, then it can become a very complicated experience for them that can lead them down the wrong path. So to have something like this early on to intervene within those ages of 16 to 24 kind of sets them up to transition really well into their adult life.
And I love that you kind of shared your own experience, because I think a lot of the times, and maybe we're moving away from that, but there was a negative stigma attached to, programs that help with education, GED. And, first, can you say, do you think we still have that stigma? And then, why it's so important that, any education truly is important as long as you have it?
If we do still have that stigma, that isn't my focus, because one of the first things I tell our youth when I do intakes with them is that I myself got my GED. And it's very important for us to say that, especially for me, because growing up, I didn't really have a frame of reference for Black success that I can say I clung to that would help me visualize my own success. So I always saw my own failures. And to see how I've persevered through my own experience, I share that with our youth to help them contextualize themselves, to kind of help them develop or to mold themselves into who they want to be, and to see that that is something that is possible. A lot of the times when I talk to our youth, some of them don't even think that I'm from the Bronx. They think that I'm from New Rochelle or I'm from somewhere else. And I'm like, no, I'm from the Bronx, like my whole life. I'm from there, because we don't necessarily associate positive things with our borough. So it's very important to embody that for our youth.
I love that you shared that. So thank you so much. That's amazing. Now, I want to talk about the program a little bit more in detail. There are 3 sections. And as you mentioned, there's pre-HSE, HSE, and I believe the advanced track. Can you explain the difference between the 3?
The pre-HSE track, you have to tape. So we focus on reading scores. Reading scores is what we struggle with across the country. And we struggle with it specifically in communities that are underserved. So we focus heavily on the reading score, because that kind of sets the tone for how you succeed in other areas that are required for completing the GED. So to get a 501 in the TABE score would put you in our pre-HSE class. And to get a 536 on the TABE would put you in our HSE class. Now, there isn't much difference between pre-HSE and HSE. It just lets us know what we have to focus on specifically with you. So for pre-HSE, we focus more on math and reading. And for HSE, we focus on math, reading, science, writing, and English. And then for our advanced track, we're focusing on on helping our youth get their their commercial driver's license and their driver's license, because we know what kind of opportunities that can bring if a youth gets access to that.
So I want to talk about the fact that there's so many programs kind of similar like this in, New York City, which is amazing. But what I think makes this stand out is that there's a focus on long-term careers and educational goals, because a lot of people think just giving somebody a job is okay, but having a career, it really makes a difference. So why was that important to include, and have that opportunity for young people?
Well, it's really about the mentorship too. So like once they get the credential and once they get, the high school diploma, what are their next steps? We don't want to abandon our youth. So we also have aftercare services for our youth that last about 3 months, and we'll still always help them no matter what, because here at MMCC, we also offer a variety of other services that can help them. So we help our our students who complete HSE also go on to college. I'm a CUNY graduate, so I'm very focused on sending a lot of our youth to CUNY if they would like to, and then we'll also help them go to any college that they would like to. And as far as the commercial driver's license, it's really about kind of making sure that they have access to employment for financial stability, because we know that the requirements are raising throughout the employment industry in terms of like what level of education you need to have. So a high school diploma in some places aren't even accepted, aren't accepted, but a high school diploma in some places, if you don't have it, you can't get a job. And if you can't get a job, then you don't really have financial freedom. And that's our goal. Yes. hmm
I'm just gonna have her mic check. Just start speaking.
All right, hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. Okay, just give us 1 minute, okay? Okay. 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 Yeah, so what question am I gonna say? Okay. Okay. So this sounds like a really amazing opportunity and program. Can you just explain what the eligibility requirements are?
So you have to be an NYC resident and you have to be between the ages of 18 to 24. Those are really the main requirements for the CDL track. You actually do not have to have a driver's license. We prefer you do, and we prefer you have a permit, but you can have a regular NYC ID.
Now, this is also a paid opportunity. Why was it important to make sure that, this experience was a paid one?
Well, I mean, I think back to when I was a youth, which is why this is extremely important. I grew up in a single parent household with 5 siblings, so the finances were pretty tight. So to be able to be a youth and work on yourself while at the same time getting paid to kind of aid in that household for financial stability is extremely important. That's why.
Now, can you explain what the application process is like?
So right now I have a pre-intake form that's attached to our flyer. The pre-intake form allows us to screen for eligibility requirements to make sure that we are getting candidates that can be admitted into our program. And then we will just call them, reach out, we'll set up an appointment on Google Calendar. And in the Google Calendar, it'll let you know all the documents you need to bring, the time to come. You'll get administrators' contact information so that you can stay in contact with us. And then we'll see you complete the application and then put you in the system. And then you'll start the first day of our cohort.
Now, how can viewers learn more about your organization and this program?
So they can actually go to mmcc.org, or you can just Google Advance and Earn. There are various Advance and Earns throughout NYC, but there's definitely our program here in the Bronx. We service a lot of youth in Manhattan and a lot of youth in the Bronx.
All right, Jahvar, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's all for our show today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and your safety and wellness now and always. See you next time. when I was reading it, there was something. I'm trying to see it so I can remember so I don't get tripped up. Yeah. Okay. 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 Hi, and welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet, a weekly program providing you with the latest information, resources, services, and community efforts taking place locally here in the Bronx and virtually. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne. Coming up, healthcare professionals will honor Worldwide Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. A Montefiore health professional joined me to discuss why breastfeeding is crucial to an infant's health. What are the benefits from breastfeeding? After that, back after a 2-year hiatus, the NYPL is hosting their anti-prom in the Bronx, which aims to encourage teens to celebrate their identity. There was a period there, that's why I had stopped. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. 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 Coming up, healthcare professionals will honor Worldwide Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. A Montefiore health professional joined me to discuss why breastfeeding is crucial to an infant's health. What are the benefits from breastfeeding? After that, back after a 2-year hiatus, the NYPL is hosting their anti-prom in the Bronx, which aims to encourage teens to celebrate their identity. A librarian for the Pelham Parkway Van-Nest Library joined me to discuss the return of this event. How does the anti-prom provide a safe space for teens? Then, organization JustFix launched a new and improved tool called Who Owns What, which aims to help NYC tenants learn more about their landlords. A program director joined me to discuss how New Yorkers can use this tool to influence their housing decisions. How could a tenant benefit from knowing more about their landlord? And finally, a new program that is aimed to help young adults with long-term careers and educational goals. Mm-hmm. Of the careers and educational goals. Mm-hmm. Long-term careers and educational goals is coming to the Mosholu Montefiore Community Center. A recruitment supervisor for Advance and Earn joins me to discuss this new program. What is the importance of having a youth employment program? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Coming up, healthcare professionals will honor Worldwide Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. A Montefiore health professional joined me to discuss why breastfeeding is crucial to an infant's health. What are the benefits of breastfeeding? After that, back after a 2-year hiatus, the NYPL is hosting their anti-prom in the Bronx, which aims to encourage teens to celebrate their identity. A librarian for the Pelham Parkway Van-Nest Library joined me to discuss the return of this event. How does the anti-prom provide a safe space for teens? Then, organization JustFix launched a new and improved tool, but I think if I say new tool, it's okay. a new Oh, okay. Right. Okay. I launched a new and improved, so I should say new and improved. Launched a new and improved. Okay. Right, it's improved, right. Coming up, healthcare professionals will honor Worldwide Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. A Montefiore health professional joined me to discuss why breastfeeding is crucial to an infant's health. What are the benefits from breastfeeding? After that, back after a 2-year hiatus, the NYPL is hosting their anti-prom in the Bronx, which aims to encourage teens to celebrate their identity. A librarian for the Pelham Parkway Van-Nest Library joined me to discuss the return of this event. How does the anti-prom provide a safe space for teens? Then, organization JustFix launched a new and improved tool called Who Owns What, which aims to help NYC tenants learn more about their landlords. A program director joins me to discuss how New Yorkers can use this tool to influence their housing decisions. How could a tenant benefit from knowing more about their landlord? And finally, a new program that is aimed to help young adults with long-term careers and educational goals is coming to the Mosholu Montefiore Community Center. A recruitment supervisor for Advance and Earn joins me to discuss this new program. What is the importance of having youth employment program? I think that's what we forgot. Of having the importance of having a youth employment program. I think the importance of having a youth employment program. I think, yeah. Hi, and welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet, a weekly program providing you the latest information, resources, services, and community efforts taking place locally here in the Bronx and virtually. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne. Coming up, healthcare professionals will honor Worldwide Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. A Montefiore health professional joins me to discuss why breastfeeding is crucial to an infant's health. What are the benefits from breastfeeding? After that, back after a 2-year hiatus, the NYPL is hosting their anti-prom in the Bronx, which aims to encourage teens to celebrate their identity. A librarian for the Pelham Parkway Van-Nest Library joined me to discuss the return of this event. How does the anti-prom provide a safe space for teens? Then, organization JustFix launched a new and improved tool called Who Owns What, which aims to help NYC tenants learn more about their landlords. A program director joined me to discuss how New Yorkers can use this tool to influence their housing decisions. How could a tenant benefit from knowing more about their landlord? And finally, a new program that is aimed to help young adults with long-term careers and educational goals is coming to the Mosholu Montefiore Community Center. A recruitment supervisor for Advance and Earn joins me to discuss this new program. What is the importance of having a youth employment program? So please stick around. Open BxRx Tuesday starts now. And I'm just going to say it out to see how it sounds. A new and improved version of their tool called Who Owns What. A new and improved version of their tool Who owns what? Do you think that would be clear to viewers? I only said that it's called Who Owns What so that they know that's... Okay. New and improved version of their tool. Who owns what? Then organization JustFix launched a new and improved version of their tool called Who Owns What, which aims to help NYC tenants learn more about their landlords. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. No, it's good. No, that's fine. Welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Coming up, oh wait, I'm sorry. I didn't see that. I'm gonna start over. No, like I was expecting like coming up and I didn't see it, so my mind made me think like something was wrong. Okay. Welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne, and I'd like to invite you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Coming up, from August 1st to August 7th, healthcare professionals will be honoring Worldwide Breastfeeding Week. Joining me to discuss the importance of breastfeeding is Associate Clinical Director. See, this is the wrong thing. I'm sorry. That's not the right thing. I think that's is that the intro for the show? Hi, and welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet, a weekly program providing with the latest information, resources, services, and community efforts taking place locally here in the Bronx and virtually. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne. Coming up, healthcare professionals will honor Worldwide Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. A Montefiore health professional joined me to discuss why breastfeeding is crucial to an infant's health. I'm sorry, I'm going to start that over. Hi, and welcome to Open BxRx Tuesday on BronxNet, a weekly program providing with the latest information, resources, services, and community efforts taking place locally here in the Bronx and virtually. I'm your host, Kibin Alleyne. Coming up, healthcare professionals will honor Worldwide Breastfeeding Week from August 1st to August 7th. A Montefiore health professional joined me to discuss why breastfeeding is crucial to an infant's health. What are the benefits from breastfeeding? After that, back after a 2-year hiatus, the NYPL is hosting their anti-prom in the Bronx, which aims to encourage teens to celebrate their identity. A librarian for the Pelham Parkway Van-Nest Library joined me to discuss the return of this event. How does the anti-prom provide a safe space for teens? Then, organization JustFix launched a new and improved version of their tool called Who Owns What, which aims to help NYC tenants learn more about their landlords. A program director joined me to discuss how New Yorkers can use this tool to influence their housing decisions. How can a tenant benefit from knowing more about their landlord? And finally, a new program that is aimed to help young adults with long-term careers and educational goals is coming to the Mosholu Montefiore Community Center. A recruitment supervisor for Advance and Earn joined me to discuss what this new program is. What is the importance of having a youth employment program? So please stick around. Open BxRx Tuesday starts now.